Shaheen, man, what a pleasure sitting out here on your dock and wanting just to sit down and share with our friends and family and our business colleagues, the people that really matter at the end of the day, your story, how we met, and just ask you a few questions to allow you to share your heart and your mindset and why you do what you do, man.
Sure, man.
All right, so I met you through a friend, a mutual friend that was trying to do some marketing for you.
Yeah.
And we, I guess, didn't feel each other. You listen to what I have to say, but we kind of iced each other for a period of time, and then I came back to you with some marketing ideas and shared how the original relationship that was introduced to you through my friend, that's no longer or existing, and so we just sparked a commonality and started working on building another level of what you already had accomplished since the first time I met you. And then I spent I think 3 weeks at your beach house.
Yeah.
We did some business in the pandemic, the PPE space, and but we really didn't get to know each other until, literally, I never went out to eat with you. I never hung out with you before one-on-one, except in a business casual meeting. And the next time we meet is, hey, can you come down to my beach house, hang out, enjoy? Let me show you a little taste of my world. And now, fast forward a year later, we're working on a big project, and you're like everywhere. I mean, everywhere I look on all the social media platforms, you got people following you, you got people engaging in you. So yeah, man, you're like a brother to me, and I appreciate every ounce of our relationship. So, share a little bit about your story and how you got here for those who might have not followed you.
I've been in the business-to-business space for, 15 years, maybe a little bit longer. And, I've worked for a lot of different companies as an independent contractor. And, it always ended up being the same thing. It was all about profits and not relationships, and not helping the customer and putting the business in a better situation. And I had a great upbringing. My parents are amazing. I got a great family. And that's just not how I was brought up. I was not brought up to, be materialistic and to focus on money so much, and more about, relationships and benefiting, each other, being able to help somebody. And, when you can do right by somebody, good things will happen. You know what I mean? That's how I was brought up. And, after working with all these different companies, I realized that the only way I was going to work with or for a company that operated that way was if I created it myself. Because it just, unfortunately, in this day and age, it just doesn't exist. It's all about the dollar, right? Now, the dollar's important, don't get me wrong, but if you do right by people and you cultivate important relationships, the dollar's gonna come by default. So, really focusing on the dollar, you're screwing yourself at the end of the day. And, when I started Versa Business Systems 5 years ago, I had built so many relationships in the industry and outside of the industry that it allowed us to hit the ground running and really take off in a good way. That, here we are 5 years later, and we're featured on Forbes and Yahoo Finance, and, we've got 100,000 followers on Instagram, and, we're almost doubling our revenue month after month. And it all comes down to relationships and focusing on what the customer needs and being a solution for them.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very powerful. Well, you pretty much answered my first question, which was, what about having a relationship makes your world go round?
Well, so relationships are everything, right? Like, I would not be anywhere near where I am without the relationships that I had. So what I mean by that is, when I started my company, we weren't supposed to be doing lending. Lending was going to be a product that we offered, but we were supposed to be leading with mobile apps. And when we realized, until we had a solid reputation, we weren't able to sell mobile apps over the phone. We realized we needed to lead with a different product, which was lending. And because of the relationships I had, we were able to get connected with the #1 lending broker at the time, and they taught me everything I needed to know. At that time when I started the business, I'd only done like 3 or 4 loans in my whole life. So to go from that to growing one of the #1 business lending companies in the world by having the highest closing ratio, the highest repeat business ratio, it was all done through relationships with lenders, with people in the industry, and growing my business has all been about relationships, finding the right people to do marketing. Said yourself, had we not met and had we not cultivated that relationship, I invited you down to my beach house, we spent 3 weeks together, we wouldn't be where we are now without relationships. I mean, I think relationships are probably the most important piece of the foundation of any business at all.
And give us a stat. So you started when doing business funding?
So we started in 2017, and then we were in an office, and we still got the office. We got some remote guys, and from 2017, that first year, we maybe did $100,000, $200,000 in revenue. Now we're doing 7-8 figures, in a little under 5 years.
How many loans does that equate to? Because that equals relationships,
right? So
and repeat business,
right? So I mean, in the beginning, we were probably doing 5 loans, 6 loans a month. Now we're doing 50 to 100, just business loans every single month. So.
Wow.
It's grown tremendously, and it's all been about relationships, because 90% of our customers keep coming back to us over and over again. Because a business that borrows money understands the value of borrowing money, right? They understand it takes money to make money, and if you borrow somebody else's money, it allows you to grow your business a lot faster. So these businesses that borrow money, they borrow on a regular basis, and they always come back to us because of how we treat them, how we fight to get them the best rate and term possible, and we really do whatever we can to put them in the best situation possible. We really get to know our customers and what they're doing with the money and what their dreams are, what their goals are, so we can be, a relationship that helps them get where they want to go.
And out of all those relationships, I know you are hands-on each one, even though you got a big sales team.
Yeah. So every single file I touch, every single one, whether it's me negotiating with the lenders or submitting the files or whatever. Every single file that comes through our company, I have a
personal conversation.
I have personal, not always a personal conversation, but I will be touching every file and making sure that it's moving in the right direction and we're getting them the best deal and all that stuff. So, I may not talk to most of our clients personally, but they have that relationship with the consultant, and, I'm doing things on the back end to help that business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And give me, for instance, give me a story that you personally have experienced about a relationship that you made it maybe bilateral and it profited both parties. Yeah.
So let's see. I mean, there's been quite a few. For example, a lot of the stuff that we've done together. It's funny when COVID came around in 2020. January is when I heard about it. A client of ours called in. He's like, "Hey, I know you guys, have your hands in a lot of different things. Do you think you can find me 20 million masks?" And at the time, I'm thinking Halloween masks, right? Like, nobody knew what an N95 was or a KN95, right? And I'm like, what is this guy talking about? So I get chatting with him. He tells me, you know, this guy, he was supposed to get him 20 million mass, and he gave him $50,000 down, and the guy ran away with the money, and all this horrible stuff, right? And so I started researching, and I learned about COVID. I'm like, man, this could be really bad. You know, if businesses shut down, my business is done. So I'm like, okay, well, it turned out that I had connections in the medical space for masks and gloves. And actually, one of our clients that we funded was one of the biggest manufacturers in the U.S. at the time before the pandemic. Wow. So he had all this stuff on hand. You know, in the U.S. in January of 2020, it wasn't the craze, right, that it became in like April and May.
Daisy chain.
Yeah, exactly. So I was able to not only make two of my clients a ton of money, but I was able to connect them together as well, and they went forward to doing a lot of business together in the medical space. And then I started a medical supply company. So I was able to keep all my sales reps and all my employees employed through the pandemic. And I mean, that's relationships. That's it. That's all it comes down to.
I'll tell you, while he was making money, I made not a dollar. But because I valued the relationship and I knew that he was connected to the right people, and I went to the dealership with you and your other gentleman, and you bought two showroom floor cars, and I have videos of me riding in the back seat, scared of my going through Ellicott City at 135 miles an hour. So, but what I'm getting at is, I embraced his success. I knew he wasn't going to buy me a car. He wasn't going to open up his network to me. I just wanted to be there and showcase, look, this is someone that's having success, man. This is what he's spending some hard-earned money on, you know, tax deduction vehicles that are going to take his, take his business to the next level. So it was nice to see him reward himself, and I've been there on many occasions. And that same dealership not only has done 2 cars, has done how many? 4 or 5? In general.
Well, yeah, in general. So that's another relationship right there. So I've bought 7 cars from them in the last 5 years. But I've also bought 3 other vehicles for employees through that dealership. I have referred a ton of business over their way, so they take care of me, I take care of them. It's a relationship, so like even the gas station owner, the person that cuts your hair, whatever it is, cultivate all those relationships. And you don't know where it could possibly go. I mean, it can grow into some amazing opportunities and some amazing things. It doesn't matter if you're a janitor or if you're a CEO. I'm trying to cultivate every single relationship that I can, because I don't know when they're going to need me or I'm going to need them. No matter what walk of life they're in, no matter what type of business they're in, it doesn't matter. Every single relationship is just as important as the next.
And at the end of the day, we all bleed red.
Yeah. Yep, we do.
So, and I'll tell everyone, thanks to Shaheen and the work that we've done and the relationships he's had with Mercedes, a car dealer or salesman that's been there for over 10 years. Man, Mercedes of all car dealerships welcome me into their family by financing me. So not only did I get a top of the line car, I get financed by a relationship that's going to allow me, based on my good faith payments each month, to buy whatever car I need in certain periods of times. So it's just awesome. So Shaheen, man, it's been a pleasure. Lead the audience with 3 tips on how to build or establish a relationship, so so there's a conversation, a Zoom or a face-to-face that starts off on the right foot. Yeah, so most important is transparency. Got to be transparent. Don't try to BS somebody. In this day and age with social media, everybody tries to get on and make it seem better than what it is.
You don't need to do that with a relationship. Somebody wants to have a relationship with you because of who you are, right? Be transparent is number one, is the most important. Be transparent. Number two, be honest, right? And number three, make it make sense for both parties involved, right? So if you're trying to work a deal, what's in it for them and what's in it for you? It's got to make sense for both parties. I was brought up in a way of, you don't do things for people to expect something in return. And that's 100% true. You don't give to charity or, help a friend move or whatever, expecting something in return. But with business relationships, you've got to make sure whatever you're asking of that relationship, that it is also beneficial to them as it is to you, right? It's got to be mutual. So the three things: transparency, honesty, and making it bilateral, making sure that it makes sense for both parties involved.
Awesome response. And so I'll end with this. Transparency. I'll touch that when you're in business, being forthright on whatever the product entails, the fees, transportation costs, sales tax, being upfront, etc. But if that person's being transparent and totally honest, and he dresses a certain way or talks a certain way or looks a certain way, it's not because he's deficient or he's not likable. It's his style. So you have to look past the fact that he's trying to be honest and transparent to you.
Yeah.
But it's not to be flashy. It's not to be showy. It's my style. It's what I like. I like Ray-Bans. I like rainbow sandals.
I think what you're touching on is prejudging.
Right.
Never prejudge a situation or a person based on their style or their status. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times when I was traveling around the country going business to business, I can't tell you the amount of times that I pulled up to a business and I'm like, oh man, these guys probably ain't doing no business. This ain't gonna be worth my time. And then going into that business like that, I mean, this was when I was like 19, 20 years old. Going into that business with that mindset, I screwed myself. Come to find out, they're doing a ton of business, and I didn't cultivate that relationship good enough from the front, so I didn't get the deal. You know what I mean? So it took me a couple of times of that happening for me to realize, don't ever prejudge anything, because you have no idea. I mean, I've had some of the most, I wouldn't say unsuccessful, but like not the type of person that you would think could really get you a big connection. I've had people that are, maybe making $20,000, $30,000 a year be some of the most valuable relationships that I have. So don't prejudge a relationship. That's for.
Yeah. So with that being said, man, being true to yourself, living life to the fullness, loving people that are unlovable, being transparent, and doing you. And if you're doing what you love, you're not working a millisecond in your life.
Not at all.
So, man, I appreciate your time, Shaheen.
Absolutely.
Man, blessings to you and your family and your business and your relationships. And man, I can't wait to see where the next level you take us.
Thanks, brother.
All right, God bless you, brother. Take care.